Throughout Australia's capricious history of cinema, many iconic films have been produced, leaving their mark throughout international film history and influencing the world. But who were Australia's influences, and when did this happen for us to get to this point? Australia's interaction with film began at the Athenaeum Hall in Collins Street, Melbourne, being the home of the earliest public screenings in Australia during 1896, showcasing the short films of the French Lumiere brothers, who were often thought to be pioneers of filmmaking. It was in 1906 when Australian cinema well and truly took off, with production of the silent film The Story of the Kelly Gang, directed by Charles Tate. At over an hour long, the Australian-made film is considered to be the world's first feature-length narrative movie. The film was an unexpected success, accumulating £25,000 from a £1,000 budget and reaching screens in England and New Zealand. With a leap in time to the late 1930s and early 1940s, 94 war-related short films for propaganda, information and fundraising purposes are produced. This included 100,000 Cobbers, Soldiers Without Uniform, and Jungle Patrol. Australia's film industry predominantly focused on themes of nation building, living through war, the lives of the working class, and how post-war European immigration affected the country. These stories were often told through documentary, with the exception of a few fictional films loosely based on true stories. Exploring these narratives had not yet been showcased in the same way or rate as the United States. At this same time, Citizen Khan, Casablanca, and It's a Wonderful Life, films which are now considered timeless classics, were being produced, distributed, and making significantly more at box office. Prior to the war, Australia had largely been influenced by the conservative culture of the United Kingdom, following its entertainment, music, sports, as well as its social and moral beliefs. However, World War II marked the beginning of a redesigned popular culture in Australia. Having the company of over 100,000 US troops in Australia from 1941 had a significant impact on post-war culture and society. American values and popular culture products like film and music quickly circulated throughout Australia, allowing society to move away from the deprived and controlled pre-war life to a more colourful and expressive lifestyle. Seeing the way in which Americans engaged with their popular culture changed the way that Australians engaged with theirs. This followed through in the film industry. Visiting the cinema had become a popular go-to event during the Second World War, as the films provided an escape and release from the real world. 151 million cinema admissions were recorded in Australia just in 1945 alone, with most of the films shown on screen produced by American companies. Despite the American films exploring unconventional themes at the time, which didn't align with Australia's British influence, most Australian audiences actually preferred Hollywood productions and were disappointed that their national Australian films fell short. As the war ended and American troops went back home, Australian lifestyles felt the influence of the modern and daring culture of the US. The 1950s showed a very short supply of homegrown Australian films, with many American films appealing to teenage audiences. This exposure evidently had impact on Australian adolescents, dawning a new youth culture in Australia. So what did America's influence mean for Australian film? Stories became more dramatic, exploring relationships and social themes as opposed to reflections of real-life events through documentary. Entertainment value is considered over education and informative value. 1965 saw one of the first drama films directed, written and produced by Italian-Australian Giorgio Mangiamele, called Clay, following an artist's daughter who falls in love with a hunted criminal.
Australians live down under, like flies on the ceiling, They never fall off.
1966 comedy romance WWII Mob and 1969 crime thriller Colour Me Dead saw genres expand as well as international success. Had the American troops not come to Australia during the Second World War, what would our films look like today? Who would we be watching on our screens? And what stories would we be telling?